Dave in Washington. You are on the line with Aaron and Jimmy. Dave, how are you?
Hey, guys.
Hello. You've got here to talk about the sinner's prayer.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Okay. Well, this was like a couple years ago, but I remember I was laying in bed and I said the sinner's prayer and I meant it. I believed it. I did it. And I got goosebumps all over my body and started crying profusely. And I don't know why.
Mm-hmm. Are you asking for an explanation because you don't believe it was supernatural, or what is? Go ahead.
To be fair, I know just because we can't explain something, it doesn't mean it's God. But I'm just, I don't know why. First of all, I don't even know why chemicals should be having any experience in the first place. I don't know what the deal is with that. And then on top of that, I'm having an experience as just chemicals. And in that experience, I said the sinner's prayer with all my heart, with all conviction, and just really meant it. And uncontrollably, goosebumps all over my body. I guess they call them spirit bumps.
No, you're right,
all over my body,
so
crying profusely.
Dave, let me ask you this.
I was just wondering how you guys would explain that.
Yeah, let me ask you. I'm not even going to explain it. I'm just going to ask you something. Could you imagine if a person were to say out loud to themselves, let's say a person who has been struggling, has some denial about some things, is having some mental health issues or depression. Obviously, that is a mental health issue, but the things aren't going great in their life. Can you imagine if they decided to say out loud to themselves, or even internally, but very directly, my goodness, I am aware that I am imperfect. I am aware that I am struggling right now. I'm aware that I'm depressed. And I very much right now am at a spot where I would like to improve my situation. And I'm recognizing that I probably can't do it alone. And I really need to find love, and I really need to find therapy. Could you imagine that if a person in a low spot, for example, were to say that, is it reasonable to your mind to think that that person might start crying as they say that, might start having a little bit of an emotional response? Is that conceivable to you?
If they were talking to another being, yes.
No, not if they're talking to another being. No, Dave.
To another being, yes.
Dave, I'm saying not talking to
listen,
Dave.
Then there's no.
Dave, I'm talking about by themselves. They are completely alone, and there is no one else there. All they are faced with is this moment of basically clarity, self-observation, where they go, I need this. I'm finally letting myself admit I have a problem, and I need to find love, and I need to find. I'm not asking you, Dave, whether or not in that situation you think you would cry. I'm asking to you if you think it is conceivable that that would invoke an emotional response in somebody.
Yeah. To be honest, yeah. But but why though? Why should it though? I don't. If you're not talking to anybody, are you just kind of talking to yourself? I guess.
Dave, do you ever cry at a good movie?
Yeah.
Do you ever?
Another thing too is, to be honest with you.
Hang on, let's just go through. I want to do a few of these questions. Do you ever laugh at a good? Do you ever laugh at a comedian that you're watching on your TV with nobody else around?
Yeah, there's a person there.
Do you ever? No, there isn't a person there. There's no being there.
The common
You are
denominator,
intaking.
right?
You are intaking.
Yeah,
No, there isn't. The TV is not a person.
At a comedy, there's people on the TV.
But
yes, there is. There's people.
The TV. Dave. There actually isn't. There are pixels on the TV. The beings aren't really there.
Yeah, but your brain doesn't know the difference.
Dave, yes, it does. First of all, yes, it does. It fundamentally does know the difference. But Dave,
your brain light up.
Dave, you don't talk to the TV. You don't tell the people. But yes, you are getting external stimulus, but it is hitting your mind. Your mind is processing it, and it is invoking an emotional response. And you can even do, Dave, do you ever here's a time where there's not a person there even more. You ever think about a joke you heard on TV and it once again evokes an emotional reaction? When you are having these experiences.
Where did the joke come from? Where did the joke originate from?
Obviously from a person, Dave, but that doesn't matter because Dave, all of your language, all of your experiences, and all of your ideas, I liked the way you said that's right, like you got me. Where did your idea that Jesus Christ can forgive you come from?
That would have to be the Bible, right?
From people. In the same way that the TV isn't literally people, but people communicated it to you. When somebody taught you to say, "Dear Lord Jesus, I know that I am a sinner and I ask for your forgiveness. I believe you died for my sins and rose from the dead. I turn from my sins and invite you to come into my heart and life. I want to trust and follow you as my Lord and Savior." When you said those words, each sentence had tons of people who primed you for it. It's just psychological priming. When you're hearing about that you were risen for my sins, in the same way that you're trying to say, but there's no literal person. Dave, if somebody who has never spoken English or heard of God said those words and had the same experience, then I would say you would have more of something. It wouldn't prove anything. It wouldn't actually prove it, but I'd say you'd have more.
That's a good point.
But the fact is that you are psychologically primed by a Christian society to find meanings in those words.
That's a good point,
by people.
Because I wonder how have you heard of the North Sentinelese people who have no concept of God, and the kid that tried to go over there and convert them got killed?
I don't know that we know that they have no concept of, I think they are animists over there, but they have no concept of monotheism.
Oh, I think he actually might be mixing two different stories, because I think the story of the Christian missionary going and getting himself killed, I think that was like an island off the coast of India, and the tribe is supposed to be, I think, in Amazonia or somewhere. North I think they're the ones allegedly without North a theist concept.
North Sentinel Island, and there's been other stories like this where you go talk to people and they're like, "What are you talking about? Show me what you're talking about." And they can't show anything because there's no evidence. So they're like, "Well, you're full of shit,"
Yeah, but I did verify the Sentinelese and the Amazon people, they are both animists. Okay. In the case of the Sentinelese, they pray to the sky and to the ocean. But yes, I get what you're saying. I'm just offering some clarity that it is, ironically, while monotheism takes forever to arise, there are lots of religions that tend to arise in societies given long enough, and animism is a constant early stage, as you can read about in David Fitzgerald's new books that he just released. Anyway, so Dave, I think we've already gotten to the bottom of without even saying this is for sure what happened. All I can present to you, because I can't tell you that God didn't do that, but I can tell you that lots of people in lots of religions have almost the exact same experience that you just said, but replace, the sinner's prayer with Moroni's promise, or some appeal to Allah, or some different Christian thing with an incompatible one. I can't tell you what the explanation of what happened to you for sure was, but I can tell you what I would suspect way before a supernatural explanation, which has never been demonstrated to make any sense.
Anyway, I can ask you one more thing.
Of course. I'm not in a rush to get rid of you.
Well, it's kind of off topic, it's on topic, but not on this exact topic. But it's basically, I always wonder, if everything's kind of material and, which makes sense. I wonder which physical part of my brain is responsible for the fact that I'm aware that I'm aware.
Who knows? I don't know. I'm not a neurologist in any way. Dave, are you a neurologist? No, sorry, not Dave. Aaron, do you know anything about neurology in this scenario?
Not near enough. This is definitely not my area of expertise, but my best understanding is that consciousness isn't like a particular thing sitting in the brain. That actually kind of leads to a problem of the homunculus. If the homunculus is conscious, then how does its consciousness work? And then you just get like an infinite loop of problems. Ultimately, it looks like consciousness is just the collective result of what the brain does, and occasionally the brain focuses and notices a tiny bit of a small amount of what it does.
Yeah. It even seems to me like it doesn't go that many layers deep, that you haven't engaged. So when you say I'm aware, and then you have an observation that you are aware that you're aware, the idea to me that necessarily has moved to a different part of the brain than just the part that was aware isn't at all demonstrated to me. And certainly you could just take that several layers. Also, don't drive while we're on the phone or we got to drop the call.
I'm not actually moving. You heard my car, but I'm not actually moving. I'm just sitting in it. I'm not going to drive.
Okay. We just got to keep you safe, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Any other challenge you would like to bring to the yard? And we'll be like, it's better than yours. Go on.
Man. I don't know. I guess I'll end it there and let other callers get in and call back if I think of something.
Do you feel like this was the most compelling reason that you are or became a believer? The response that you had, the deep emotional response you had to the Lord, to the sinner's prayer?
Yeah, I mean, it's like the one thing is this personal experience, right? It's like I can feel that there's a God, but I know that logically just logically it doesn't work. There's no logical contradiction in an eternal cosmos. So, there's better theories than God for how the universe works. So yeah.
Let me ask you this though, Dave. Are there other points in your life, say for example, somebody comes to you with an illness. I don't know if you have children or not, but somebody comes to you with an illness and asks you for help. Do you go with your gut feeling, or do you recognize when a gut feeling isn't adequate to establish the truth of a scenario and try to engage either an expert or at least acknowledge your own shortcomings?
You have to go with the science. You have to go with the experts, man, because they study it and they have the degrees and they've looked into it and they know what the hell they're talking about.
Sure. And this isn't as much a question about who to go with. It's a question about recognizing when something should be based on feeling. And when I think about what I should believe feelings can confirm for me, I feel like the only thing that I can think of off the top of my head would be my own psychological states, like my ability to say to somebody, I'm anxious or I'm depressed, I'm happy, I'm whatever. But as far as invoking feelings for what is correct, I can't imagine defending that ever as a basis for what is factual.
I'm sorry. I just thought of something else I want to bring up that I don't think you guys are going to like, but this is another thing that makes me kind of lean towards theism.
Go ahead.
If you'd like to hear it.
Yep.
So as far as abrupt mass extinctions, the current rates of carbon dioxide emissions are accelerating, and we are dwarfing the worst abrupt mass extinction that we know of, the Permian Triassic, by orders of magnitude greater rates as far as warming the atmosphere. That causes near-term abrupt mass extinction, and if you add a bunch of carbon into the atmosphere, what you do is you create what geologists call a kind of like a fireball Earth. And it seems odd to me that the Bible kind of predicts this, right? It says the earth will end in fire. And there's verses in Revelations like, the time has come to destroy those that have destroyed the earth. I know a lot of people are like, no, it's not what the science says. But if you actually look into this, sea surface temperatures are off the charts. These things are going 6 sigma level off the charts. They're out of control. It's clear as day to any geologist.
Dave, I hear you.
So
I hear you.
Can we make that connection or no?
No. You're talking about a Bible that describes a flat Earth, or rather a disk Earth, but not a round Earth, but you like the part where it says it's going to end in fire, but you ignore the parts that are establishing something very. Hang on, Dave. Don't let me finish. I promise you'll get there. But the biggest problem is that it doesn't say climate change will happen. It doesn't say that it's going to be a result of carbon dioxide. What it says is what is very popular in lots of ancient religious myths, that there's going to be a giant fire. Sometimes it's going to be a dragon that's going to burn everything up. But you're talking about a civilization of people who the thing that could be the most catastrophic and least able for them to control was fire. And they were afraid of while also trying to control it, obviously, in smaller things. So it's a very frightening thing to extend that, again, this common mythology of everything's going to, these places will burn to the ground. The world will burn to the ground. These common mythologies, and say it is specifically referring to this thing because someone back then understood, is a common religious practice of all religions to go, hey, my vague prophecy, I now know what it's pointing to in my current times as I'm living, and I'm ignoring all of the times that like some big fire happened in New York and the preacher said, the Bible predicted this fire. New York burned down, and that's part because of the sins, because look at the Bible. It is in every era, people are able to look into the Bible and go, oh, look at all these prophecies that are being fulfilled. This is so obviously the case, when in reality, that is the nature of prophecy. They only thrive on their vagueness. Aaron, did you have something you want to add to that? I'm over talking to you a little bit.
Two things, just to give a concrete example from other myths, that if anything, the idea of like an end of the world in fire comes from Zoroastrianism, which is actually older than the, especially older than the New Testament and older than probably a good chunk of the Old Testament. And it includes things such as that the world will basically be devoured in molten metal. And for the good and righteous people, that will go over you and it'll feel like warm milk. While for those who are not righteous, you will be, what normally happens when molten metal starts pouring over a biological body. So if anything, your interpretation of that is going to prove the Zoroastrians right. So I think you need to get on a plane and go to Iran and join up with the group there potentially.
The ones that are
conversely, if you're going to stick with Revelation, remember that book also said multiple times, behold, I come quickly. It's been 2,000 years. If that's not literal, then don't take the fire and brimstone so literal.
Dave, you still there? Says he's connected, but we don't hear him.
Yeah. I'm here.
You're muted. You muted to cover that you were driving, huh?
I'm not driving.
All right.
Okay.
I'm in my car.
Okay.
So what I would say to that is, to me, that sounds like you have a bunch of different ancient religions predicting the same thing, is what you're telling me.
Dave, they often conflict with each other.
Say, only one of them can be right, but it sounds like they're all right. It sounds like they're all predicting the same thing, which is how the earth is going to end and end quickly, and this is demonstrable.
So, Dave, to be clear, you then believe in a
on fire right now around me.
Dave, to be clear, this means that you believe in a God that tells multiple religions their religion is true and gives multiple religions prophecies, even as these have been in conflict and at war with each other for long periods of time.
I would lean towards, this is what's originally what I said is this is what's making me lean towards theism. The three major Abrahamic religions seem to predict the same way that we're going to end this, and it's demonstrable.
Isn't that because they're all based on the same root rather than they're all independently predicting the same thing? Judaism affects Christianity and both of them affect Islam. So it's like, yeah, you kind of expect them to say the same thing. Hey, all three of them mention Moses. Is that because they all independently discovered evidence of Moses, or are they all copy pasting from the same starting material?
Okay.
Dave, are you even familiar with how much stuff Christianity stole straight up from Zoroastrianism, and how, in fact, Judaism's theft of Zoroastrianism is sort of the motivating factor that started turning Judaism into what was back then more of a polytheistic religion to monotheism? that these are people who interacted with each other and literally took from each other. And when many of these polytheistic religions interacted with each other, they didn't actually go, wait, I've got these 12 gods and you have those 12 gods. We have to fight over which are the right 12 gods. They'd basically just take on each other's gods, and now they'd have 24. Oh, thank you for talking about these gods I didn't know about. And yet they've transitioned as it's become more tyrannical and more mandated into this monotheistic thing, which is stolen from a bunch of them. Your idea. Let's go with this, Dave. You said you do accept science, right?
Yeah, as a method.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Has there ever been a global flood any time that Homo sapiens have walked the earth?
So here's how I would respond to that, and I know you're not going to like this, but anything that was proven by we don't prove anything, but anything that the scientific method demonstrates is incorrect or impossible about the Bible or whatever story, I could just say, well, that was metaphorical.
Great, Dave. Now let's go ahead and answer my question because you've done the thing that theists often do and assumed you know where I was going instead of actually engaging the question, because I'm not going the direction you think I'm going. You accept science.
Okay, I apologize. What's
You
the
accept
question?
science. How has there ever been a global flood any time that Homo sapiens have walked the earth?
No, the answer to that is no. There
Correct.
is no
Correct.
global
So
flood. That is a demonstrable fact.
So, Dave, the global flood is a prophecy or quote unquote recorded history of many religions. Are the many religions just being metaphorical, or are the many religions wrong about there having been or will be a global flood?
Well, it's one of those two, right? Either it's metaphorical or it's just wrong, right? And it is wrong, demonstrably incorrect.
So if
But
it is wrong,
if you-
then why is it they're predicting correctly when several religions have the end of the world being burning to the ground? Why is it a correct prediction then when the several religions do the same kind of thing with the global flood?
Wait, I'm sorry. Can you ask that one more time?
Sure. You are saying that if several religions are making this claim, this religious claim, then they're all predicting the same thing. But when several religions have predicted in the past or recorded history, this global flood from God, you are ready to reject that as wrong. So why is it when it is something in the future that you think is definitely going to happen, you say, for sure that's what it was talking about, but when they were talking about this global flood, they must have just been being wrong or metaphorical?
That's a great question.
Yes, it's because it exposes a double standard that I want you to think about. I'm not trying to get you. I just want you to think about it as you're assessing this as very important to you. And I might recommend, again, David Fitzgerald's books, which his new series, the series in totality is called Playing God, covers what I was talking about, the Zoroastrianism influence on Judaism, which then becomes monotheistic Christianity.
And I also have to pimp out Dave's books because I'm one of the endorsers of it. So I'm infected by Dave's work.
I'm blurbed in it.
Well, that's right. You're right. You did as well, I guess.
I'm a blurber, everybody. Anyway, go ahead.
I blurb all the time.
Dave, anything else?
Okay, guys.
Yeah.
I have to drive now, but
sure.
I'll think about all that. My answer to your question would be, I would just say one thing is metaphorical. The ark could be possible if they just took the DNA of the animals, and they just didn't know how to write DNA in there. But there was no global flood. I don't know how a serious grown-up can actually say that there was a global flood. It's a good point. I just don't. There's things that are demonstrably false, but there's also, or not true, I should say, but there's also things that are eerily accurate.
Sure.
So,
Dave, we'll talk about more of that next time because I think you'll find we disagree with even that assessment. But We'll talk about it more next time. Between
That's
now and
fine.
then, I want you to really consider, as you're assessing these things and saying, I want to figure out the truth, maybe consider starting at 0. Because what I hear from you, Dave, is a man who wants to start with the conclusion and try to make the things fit. And that's how you're trying to avoid the double standard you clearly engaged in. But I'm looking forward to when we talk again in the
and
future.
The reason for starting with the conclusion is because of the personal experience I explained at the beginning.
Yep, which is what everybody does in all of their religions. You should definitely understand that anecdotes are the worst types of evidence.
Well, yeah, we need data. We need data. But it seems a lot of people are having personal experiences, right?
Of
And they're
conflicting
attributing them
religions.
to
Yep.
some kind of God.
Yep. I had extremely, I had extremely significant. No, Dave.
It leans towards a God.
Dave.
It doesn't mean the God is correct.
Dave, incorrect. It leads toward, you can say it leads toward theism, but not a God, because not all religious traditions are themselves monotheistic. In fact, even some of the ones that claim to be monotheistic, not so much. However, to say that it's leaning toward theism, again, you should stop trying to begin with the conclusion, I want God to work, and see if there is a more naturalistic, provable explanation that fits it better, or just which one fits the best, a material explanation or a spiritual one. And I think you will find that the spiritual one isn't as strong as you think as far as argument goes. Anyway, drive safely, Dave.
Yeah, that's well said. I appreciate you guys. You guys are great.
See ya.
Have a good one.
Thanks, bud.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I feel like there's gonna be a lot of comments that'll be like, man, I'm sad. I don't wish illness on anybody, but Jimmy's been gone for a while because he's sick and it clearly caused him to chill the fuck out. So maybe I do wish it on anybody. I haven't gone hard at anybody yet. Thank you for watching that clip. If you enjoyed it, perhaps you should join us.
Join us.
Join us.
Join us.
Join us.
Join us.
At patreon.com/calltheline.